of is going to show you how to make the most simple artisan bread. And don't let the word artisan scare you, because that sounds like you've got to be fancy and know how to be a baker. You do not, because I am not. I'm a novice, to say the least, but I do love baking and I do love bread, and so does the family. So today I'm going to show you the most simple artisan bread you can make. It doesn't require a lot of fancy gadgets or ingredients. In fact, there's only 4 ingredients, 3 if you're not counting water, but we do have to add water. 4 ingredients, and it's so simple to put together. Don't even need a machine. So let's get started. So this is just your classic artisan loaf. So what you need to start with is 6.5 cups of flour, or that translates to 29.2 ounces of flour. And with baking, what I've found is that you do need to be a little more precise than just throwing things like in a skillet or something for dinner. You need to know exactly how much you're putting in and where. Some recipes are more forgiving than others, and this one is. So you don't have to be perfect. But I did want to show you the difference of just putting in 6.5 cups of flour versus weighing it. Because you will find that sometimes you're packing more into your measuring cup when you're just scooping it out than you are when you are measuring it and getting the right amount. And for bread, unless you want it to be a very dense consistency, if you want that light and airy bread, it's better to measure and weigh it. But let me show you the difference. So first, the flour. So if we were going to just do 6.5 cups, let me put this on my scale, zero it out. So let's just count out 6.5. Let's say we put it out of here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Let's close up halfway. And a half. Now, I haven't looked at the scale yet, but let's see what it says. 33.36 ounces. So again, we need 29.2. That's a little excessive. We don't want that much. We're going to have a really dense loaf of bread. It's not going to be that light and airy with the holes in it that we like. So let's take some out, because again, we want 29.2 ounces. So I take some of it back out. A little too much. That's 28.56. Put it back in. 29. And again, you don't have to be perfect when you get this close. 29.2. There we go. Sometimes just shifting it around changes your weight. Alright, so we're done with the flour. With the scale, that's all the measuring you're going to need to do. So, take this off here. Let me get the scale out of the way. The scale's so funny. It's that Perfect Bake. I don't know when you remember that came out a few years ago and everybody was buying it, had all the gadgets that you didn't have to measure anything, you poured it all into the bowl. Again, I wanted to be a baker. Thought that was a great idea. Never used it, but I love the scale. Never used the recipes, I used the bowls as mixing bowls. Yeah, love the scale. Alright, but any scale will work. And again, you can measure it out, just go lighter on it, because as you see, if you were to fill those cups up, you're going to get a lot more flour than you're intending to. So next, your next ingredient is going to be active yeast. I buy my active yeast at Sam's Club so I can buy it in bulk, and I just keep it inside a mason jar to keep it fresh, and then I actually keep it in the refrigerator to keep it even fresher. It can stay in the refrigerator for months and months and months, so if you don't bake bread very often, that's okay. The yeast will stay good in the refrigerator. So just a little tip in it. Alright, you want 1.5 tablespoons of yeast. And again, this doesn't have to be perfect. I'll fill my tablespoon up with that. If you've got a 1/2 tablespoon measurement, go ahead. I've been making this for so many years now, I think I can do it with my eyes closed. So the yeast is done. And then you want 1.5 tablespoons of salt. Just your regular table salt, kosher salt. That in there. You want to just mix your dry ingredients. I like using a Danish whisk. I find that this whisk cube works amazing with everything from making cornbread, cake batters, muffins, cakes, breads. We use it for everything. We really use it for everything. But we have normal whisk too, so whatever, spoon, whisk, whatever you want to use, go for it. But mix your dried ingredients up. And then you're going to want lukewarm water. Lukewarm water is just over 100 degrees. It's not hot enough to scald you. It's kind of like a thermometer in it. Again, I use the sink, and as soon as it feels warm on my wrist, I know that that's the temperature I want. So let me get 3 cups of water, and I'll be right back. Right, so I have my water. Again, you want it warm so it will activate the yeast, and warm means anywhere from 105 to 115 degrees. So if you're just getting started, if you're very new to baking, use that thermometer, stick it in there, and make sure that you get the correct temperature, because if it's too cool, your yeast is going to do nothing, your bread's not going to rise. And if it's too hot, it's going to kill the yeast, and it's going to do the same thing. It's not going to do anything. So you want to get it in between there. But I would say, put the temperature thermometer in there and feel it. See what it feels like. And then the next time that you make bread, you'll be able to tell by on your wrist or by your fingers, by your touch. You know, you'll get used to it after a while. You'll be able to make it without a thermometer. So, let me get this out of the way. Now we are just going to add our water to our flour. And give that about 40 rotations. Again, this is all in one bowl. It even rises in this bowl. You don't have to put it out onto a mat. You don't knead it, no, you don't do any of that. This is a no-knead, one bowl bread. Again, so simple. 4 ingredients and just a little elbow grease. What we're planning on doing with this tonight, because it's a very versatile recipe, is I'm going to make rolls so that we can make tri-tip sandwiches for dinner. Kind of like a hoagie. I don't know about you guys, but our family loves tri-tip, and here in Missouri you get great deals on it. We can get it as cheap as, well, it's on sale, sometimes $2.99 a pound, $4.99 a pound. So we do eat a lot of tri-tip. What about you? What's your favorite meat to put in a sandwich? Have you tried tri-tip? Do you like it? Have you ever heard of it? I have to do a video sometime on the tri-tip. But again, just work this through and make a mess, because bakers make messes. You gotta get flour all over you. Okay, you don't, but I do. Okay, just get all those wet ingredients mixed in with the dry. Form a nice, pretty dough. And you're just going to work it through until you don't see any more dry flour, dry ingredients in the bowl. Mix all the way through. It's not even that important to worry about lumps and such, because as it rises, everything kind of works itself out. I just love this recipe. And again, this is not my recipe. I didn't make it up. I did get it from an Artisan book several years ago when I wanted to learn how to make bread. So I'm just passing on this recipe to you all, not claiming authorship. Though, I wish I made it myself. And again, talking about creativity, when I spoke that this dough is so versatile, it really is, because you can have it plain, which is how I'm going to make it today, but you can add whatever you want to it as well. You can put in herbs and cheese, things like that, let it rise. You can put in sweet stuff, dried fruits. Also, after it rises and you're ready to cook with it, you can put anything in it at that time as well. You can roll in more cheese or meats. I have put so many things inside this bread. We have had it every which way. So let me see if the camera will pick this up. But your dough will just kind of look like this after you have mixed it all together. And again, that's it, you're done. At this point, all you're going to want to do is get a tea towel, which has a nice flour on it, or saran wrap, or anything that you could just cover the bowl with. If you have the lid for the bowl, just lightly cover it, just don't seal it. And just cover it like this. Put it in a warm spot in your kitchen for 2 hours and let it rise. You know, once it gets to the top and it's all bubbly and it smells yeasty and amazing, it's ready to use. Don't want to use it? Great. put it straight into the refrigerator, and you've got dough for up to 9 days in the refrigerator. You just take out the pieces that you want every day. In fact, a bowl this size, this will rise all the way to the top, and it will make a loaf of bread for us every single day for an entire week. So I love this. I love making it on weekends, just sticking it in the refrigerator, and then when we want something bread type during the week, I just pull out what I need and make that amount, and then put the rest back into the refrigerator. So again, you can reduce the recipe if you just want to make a very small loaf and have no leftovers, or you can make this batch, put it in the refrigerator, and you've got rolls or bread all week long. So I'm gonna let this sit for 2 hours, and then I'll meet you back here for rolling it out and showing you what we do with it next in order to get it ready to be eaten for dinner tonight. All right, so it has been a couple of hours. We've had our dough rising. Here is what it looks like a couple hours later. You can kind of see that. It's all jiggly in there. You see lots of bubbles. And now you can go ahead and use it, or as I said, you can put a cover on it and stick it in your fridge and use it at a later date if you need to. But like I told you, we are going to make tri-tip sandwiches for dinner tonight. So I'm gonna roll out some rolls for us. So you're just gonna flour your mat. And again, you use gloves if you like, whatever you like to do. I like getting my hands dirty, whether it's in the kitchen with flour and food, or it's in the garden with dirt. I'm not a big fan of gloves unless I'm doing hard labor and working with things that can give you splinters and cuts and all those fun things. But anyway, then you can just pull out your dough, however much you're needing at a time, and I'm gonna make 3 rolls, there's 3 of us tonight. I'm just gonna flour it up a little bit, and then you can do one of 2 things after you work this flour, and you're not gonna overwork it. Again, like I said, there's really not a lot to do with this recipe. It is so simple. Just gonna work that flour in there, get it soft and supple. And then what I do is I form the roll with my hands. Now you can get your rolling pin and roll it out, fold it, whatever you like to do. For me, I like to work it up myself. And you can do one of 2 things after this. You can pop it straight into the oven, 425 degrees, or you can give it a second rising. If you pop it into the oven now, you're still gonna get a delicious loaf. So if you're, crunched on time, and say you have this in the fridge and you want to make a quick dinner and some bread on the side, you can take it, form this, and stick it right in the oven. You're still gonna have a great loaf of bread. Or you can let it have a second rising, and that can be anywhere from 20 minutes to another hour if you like, whatever you like. For me, I'm going to give it a very small second rising. In fact, I'm only going to give it a rising long enough for the oven to preheat to 425, so maybe 10 minutes or so. But just enough to give it just a little more airiness. I find the second rising just gives it a little more volume, and it just gives a little more airiness and lighter texture inside. Go ahead and put that on my pan here. This is what I'm going to bake it on, and you can bake it on a regular cookie sheet, any kind of baking pan, or if you have a pizza stone, which I have one of those as well, I need to get out of the pantry. For artisan bread, if you cook it on a actual pizza stone, it gets a really nice crust all the way around. If you're one of those that likes a really thick, chewy crust, try a pizza stone. It's pretty amazing. Second one going. Again, it gets a little sticky, but no problem because the flour just gets it smooth so quickly. And you can make these into any shape that you're looking for. If you're looking for round rolls, make them round. If you're looking for hoagies, make them long. If you're doing, say, French bread, now for French bread, I actually take all of it and I roll it out as much as I can to cover this. And then what I'll do is I roll up the dough, kind of like that, on itself. And then that roll gets it layers in there as well, especially during that second rising, and you get an amazing French loaf out of that. So again, a million things that you can do with this recipe. That's why it's my favorite. It's simple, but you can do a million things with it. So that's what I like. Versatility. Just gonna form this into a little roll, and I promise when it comes out of the oven later, it's going to look prettier than it's looking at the moment. But I just kind of shape it because it's going to get bigger as it cooks and taller. So it'll be a nice size, you know, decent size sandwich. We're not looking for a foot long here, but you can make that if you want. That one pan and one more. And for those of you that are watching this and you're already bread connoisseurs and you're really good bakers, you know, this is just the way that I do it. It's in no way perfect. As I mentioned before, I'm just a baker novice. I just love to do it, and I'm learning more about baking and just really how to use your oven in all kinds of different ways as we go. So you may see shortcuts or things that I'm not seeing, or things that I could do better, and sure, put those down in the comments because I am always willing to learn. So comment away. So that one's nice and pretty, so I'm going to get it over here on the pan as well. So now we have all three of these, and now what I'm going to do after I preheat the oven is I simply, here for a second, I will take a pastry knife. Let me wash my hands real quick, 1 second. So what I do before I put in the oven is I will just cut some slits into the top of the bread, and this allows the bread to expand without bursting the top. We've seen those before, and it's a hot mess. That allows the bread to kind of have room to expand and grow without damaging the loaf and the shape of the loaf itself, and plus it's kind of pretty. So I will cut those into that, and I simply just run my bread knife right along the top, and I'll show you so I can get you a close up. And then, as I said, it goes in the oven, 425 degrees, and it takes anywhere from 18 minutes to 30 minutes, depending on the size of your loaves, how many you have, how dense it is. But you do want to use a thermometer there because you want your loaf to get to at least 190 degrees internally. And sometimes I can eyeball it and see if it's golden brown on the outside and nice, and I can touch it and hear that thud. I know it's done, but I still like to check because sometimes, especially on a big loaf, it may look done and golden brown and beautiful, and then you put that thermometer in it and pull it out, and out comes some dough because maybe the middle isn't quite done yet. So that thermometer needs to be 190 degrees or better. We like it between anywhere 190 to 205 degrees. We find to be the best internal consistency, and then when you open that bread, it is light and airy and delicious. So definitely get a thermometer for the baking part. But really that's it on the baking, or on the creating of the dough, I should say. And after I created those 4, you can see I've still got plenty of dough in here for a few more. I will actually just put a lid on that, and that's going to go in the fridge. It will be other meals later this week. And I will show you when these come out of the oven what they look like, and then our tri-tip sandwiches. So 18 minutes later, and they're out of the oven. They're at about 200 degrees, so they're definitely done. A couple things you can do at this point is, if you like a nice crusty bread for dinner, you can leave it as is and put this on your table. Or for us, since we're doing sandwiches, we want the top, you can hear that, to be a little softer. So I just put some butter on top, which softens it. You can put ghee or oil or whatever you want to use to soften the top. Or, like I said, you can leave it as is. So the butter, since it's nice and hot, just melts really quickly across the top here. And you just do that to all 3 of them, and it soaks in, makes the top nice and soft, so you have nice sandwich bread. Alright, I will show you what the tri-tip sandwiches look like when they're finished. So here's a sandwich when it's completed. So we've got your meat and cheese inside there, and the bread is nice and soft on top and soft all the way through. It's perfect consistency for a sandwich. We're going to pair that with some cheesy corn tonight and enjoy. So I hope you enjoyed this video and you learned a thing or two, and now you can take yourself into the kitchen and make yourself some homemade bread. Catch you on the next one.